for that approach initiation burn should be ending here shortly. Dragon does have the ability to perform a mid-course maneuver about halfway through the journey to waypoint 0 to ensure the Dragon is positioned right under the station 400 meters below. We've got this really very cool view on your screen of Dragon with some daylight.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. The approach initiation is complete and nominal. As a reminder, you now have impulsive retreat recovery cue cards available for your review.
Cover copies on the big loop.
That concludes the approach initiation burn.
That's right. So the cue cards that were referenced are just the next series of milestones. They're going to track the performance of the approach initiation burn on its way up to rendezvous with the International Space Station, of course passing through a series of waypoints, but they are going to monitor the trajectory and have the option at various points during the approach to execute some abort maneuvers. So they'll be reviewing those to make sure they are prepared. Again, we have a nominal approach initiation burn. Burn for 90 seconds.
Thank you, Captain Joe.
Now that's the last major burn. The crew and the ground teams will have the option to perform a mid-course maneuver should it be needed. And that would be just to fine-tune the approach to make sure the Dragon is targeting a precise point 400 meters directly below the station.
Again, we have this really awesome view from the International Space Station looking at Dragon. You could see that it is currently with the background of daylight. This view just...
Dragon SpaceX for suit leak checks.
Go ahead, Space.
All right, Megan. You are go to begin suit leak checks per procedure 4.011.
1000 to level off.
Copy, that's in work.
We just heard some communications that they will begin their suit leak checks for the crew on board. This is the same standard suit leak checks that they did when they were at the O&C building getting suited up for flight, as well as when they ingressed on Dragon initially. Again, they did doff their suits for the ride towards the International Space Station, but now they have donned their suits again, so because they have put these suits back on, they're doing another suit leak check to make sure that the suits are ready to go. Again, the suits are there in case of any cabin depressurization. So just making sure that everything is functioning properly prior to docking with the space station.
All right, we're tracking the Dragon now about 6.6 kilometers or about 4 miles away from the International Space Station. We are tracking an additional maneuver, a mid-course maneuver that would happen inside 22 minutes from now, expected at about 12:58 a.m. Pacific time.
SpaceX Endeavour on Dragon to ground. We are ready to initiate suit leak check.
Dragon SpaceX, you are go to command initiate suit leak check.
Copy, in work.
All right, so that's suit leak check coming up. That's going to be another major key event. Now that we're inside the, or about to enter into the approach ellipsoid, we are in joint operations. So the Dragon control teams here in Hawthorne are working with the flight controllers over in Mission Control Houston, and need to follow a joint set of flight rules. Now that we're in a very dynamic period. of the flight inside the approach ellipsoid or about to pass into it. That will be critical to have an extra safety precaution of suits pressurized, just in case of any event that there would be a cabin leak. The crew themselves will be protected from any leak should that occur. Now, once the Dragon rather is docked to the station and holding pressure.
Dragon SpaceX, we see the onboard caution for RGPS 3. There's no crew action required at this time.
We copy.
What you're seeing behind Dragon from this view is Australia. The Dragon and International Space Station on a southeasterly course heading towards the South Pacific Ocean. They're going to enter into an orbital nighttime here soon, so the views will get slightly darker through this first part of the approach phase, passing into the approach ellipsoid. Again, during this after the approach initiation burn, the crew themselves have their suits configured and are undergoing a leak check. We're expecting to wrap up that leak check in just a few seconds. And we should hear a status of the leak check from here in Hawthorne.
And it looks like we got some cabin views there on your left-hand screen. Again, we are able to provide these once Dragon does pass over ground station. So it is a bit intermittent.
SpaceX Endeavour, we saw 4 good leak checks.
SpaceX copies and concurs for good suit leak checks.
Heard some confirmation that those suit leak checks are now complete and they all are functioning properly in preparation for this approach to the International Space Station. And again, we have that internal view of Crew Dragon. All 4 crew members are strapped into their seats. They are preparing for the final maneuvers to make their way to the International Space Station. And this is a view from the International Space Station looking at Dragon. As that dot in the center of the screen with the Earth in the background.
Very cool. We'll get to appreciate these views from the cameras on board the station, looking back at the Earth for just a little while longer. We're about to cross over the Terminator line. So the views you're seeing here will start to get just a little bit darker as we pass into an orbital nighttime over the South Pacific Ocean.
Again, if you're just now joining us, this is a live view inside of Crew Dragon. This is the Crew 2 mission.
Dragon SpaceX for RGPS caution.
Go ahead, SpaceX.
All right, we still have 5 converged filters for RGPS, and we only need 1, so we are not going to be troubleshooting at this time. Dragon is still go for approach. How copy?
Endeavour copies. No troubleshooting, so go for approach.
We just heard some call-outs that they did have a caution notice, but it sounds like it is nothing to worry about, and they are still go for approach.
No, I don't have the issue.
And we have completed
you need
the
to make
approach
sure
initiation
that you
burn.
use the correct CFG, the configuration file for the Zebo.
All right, you're hearing some chatter over Dragon to Ground about the
Zebo gave
GPS.
that file, and then what you
These
need to
GPS
do,
units use position data that transmitted from the International
sure that
Space
your
Station to perform
extras are set
relative
up
GPS
correctly.
navigation.
So what I would suggest
There are
is
6
use
on
the
board
same
the
settings
Crew
that Zebo
Dragon.
gave his model
Only
over.
one is
If
needed
you go
for this
into
phase of
extras,
flight.
you'll see there's a place where you can set it as the default.
So we're in a
for
good
all
position
and everything.
as
So,
we're in the approach and
I would
docking
recommend
phase
doing that because I
of
honestly, I don't
Crew
have that,
Dragon's
and it's just because of the way it's
eventual
set up
arrival
in
to the
CFG.
forward port of the International Space Station. As promised, the views of Dragon starting to get darker as we enter into an orbital nighttime over the South Pacific Ocean. Getting good views from inside the cabin of Crew Dragon to see that center screen, monitoring the trajectory, just really following that line up to the big dot, the big center there. That is the International Space Station.
And again, Dragon is flying autonomously, so they are not manually flying Dragon. That is not what they're using the display panels for. They are just using those displays to monitor their progress along the way.
PM Mac. Fine, John.
Again, we are getting some intermittent views inside of
Guys,
Crew
I need
Dragon.
to go get more coffee. I'm busy
As we
adding
pass
more leads
over
and all, but
ground
it's like,
stations.
draining my energy sitting and typing here, so I need energy. I'll be back, guys. 5 minutes.
Okay, John. I'll get you.
And as Gary mentioned,
Yeah, I tried the other way. Your way was the best.
we no longer have that daylight view. So that background is now that black space, dark view.
Now we're expected to be in a sunrise as station makes its way through this approach phase of flight. It's planned to execute an approach initiation mid-course burn, and then teams will conduct a go, no-go to approach waypoint 1, which is about 400 meters directly below the International Space Station. We should be expecting a sunrise about that time, but we'll be in an orbital nighttime until those next milestones. Contact and capture at 2:10 a.m. Pacific time is scheduled to occur just before an orbital sunset. On Dragon's approach, it's about 3,700 meters or 3.7 kilometers away from the International Space Station as it approaches inside 2.5 miles from the International Space Station.
Yeah, touchscreens, it's pretty weird, alright, isn't it?
Yeah. But this advancement in touchscreens,
And this portion of the mission is, even though they are very, very close to the station, it is some precise maneuvers, so they do want to move very slow and steady with multiple checkpoints along the way to ensure that the spacecraft is safe and the space station is safe as well.
Far
So we are taking our
Aircraft are
time
gonna
here.
progress.
So even though we do get closer and closer, it will still take just a little
Spacecraft
over
always
an
kind of
hour
paved the way for
or so
aircraft, really,
for
and, well,
the Crew
maybe
Dragon
the other way
to dock
around,
with
but
the
then,
International
I mean,
Space
the
Station.
space shuttle kind of paved the way for Concorde and stuff like that, didn't it, really?
Meanwhile, again, Crew
Well,
Dragon is
yeah,
not the
but
only
I'm thinking that
spacecraft
they've
in flight
taken
right
a
now. It's
giant
about
leap
to meet up with
forward
the International
in
Space Station.
technology
We're hearing from the
compared
control
with
teams
the
over
old
there that the International Space
space
Station
shuttle.
itself has maneuvered to its
And-
docking attitude. The station itself undergoing
aircraft are hanging behind at the moment. and yet we
undergoing a
thought
series
they
of
were
procedures to make
progressing
sure
too
it is
fast.
prepared as an orbiting complex to receive the Crew Dragon. This view from the Dragon
Yeah,
itself.
I think airlines are just more reluctant to go from the
What an incredible
old
view that is. You
trusty
can
rather
really
than the
see the
well, I mean,
outline
like
of
the
the International
787, even
Space
though it's
Station.
not
Really
so much
shows you how
touchscreen,
close they
it's
are
more,
getting
you know, mouse
to
and
docking.
mouse wheel.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If you
That
look at
view
the new
is from about
Citation
2
X, for
miles
example,
away
the FMCs and
as
on
the station
radio
makes, or
panels
as
and
the
all of
Dragon
that, they're
makes
all
its approach to the
touchscreen now.
station.
So some airlines are kind of moving that direction. It's gonna go that way eventually, though.
The only trouble is the
Now we're
cleaning
looking
equipment.
at
remove all
Dragon
the
from
smudges
the
on the
International
screen.
Space Station in this view that you're seeing here on your screen.
Yeah, I guess with the spacecraft it's okay because they're all wearing spacesuits and gloves.
Exactly. Well, mind you, the Japanese have got the answer. Do their pilots still wear white cotton gloves?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Common question we get
Well, they
relative
used to,
to
didn't
International Space Station
They
cameras
did.
has to do with all the different colored pixels you see
I think
from
that was
this
more of a
camera
cultural
view.
thing, though.
The pixels
Well, if you
themselves
think,
have been exposed
all
to the
British
radiation
Forces
environment
pilots,
that
they
is
all
in
wear
low Earth
those
orbit.
soft
So cameras
leather
every
gloves.
once in a while will have dead pixels experienced from some of the radiation that is in this environment.
And you could see the camera kind of moving and adjusting as Dragon makes its way to the space station, and that is because it's being controlled by a human on the ground. That is in Mission Control Houston.
That's right, that position being Cronus. They're locked on to Crew Dragon Endeavour. All right, so we'll have intermittent dropouts from the cameras aboard the International Space Station. Of course, they're flying at 17,500 miles per hour, and they're using tracking and data relay satellites, geosynchronous satellites that are positioned about 23,000 miles away from the Earth. So they'll just have periodic handovers between some of the satellites as the two orbiting spacecraft make their way around the Earth. They're now over the Pacific Ocean in orbital nighttime. They're expected to be there for quite some time. We're coming up on a couple of milestones, one of them being a mid-course maneuver, just another small burn just to make sure we're in line, to make sure we're getting to that first waypoint. There are 3 waypoints, waypoints 0, 1, and 2, and waypoint 0 is 400 meters directly below the International Space Station.
Again, if you're just now joining us, we have completed the approach initiation burn. And as Gary mentioned, we are coming up on the next burn, being the mid-course burn, in about a little under 15 minutes or so.
Dragon's about 2.5 kilometers away from station now, just a little more than a mile and a half.
If you're just now joining us, we are monitoring and providing updates on the Crew 2 as they make their way to the International Space Station. The view that you're seeing on your screen is of Mission Control Hawthorne. And as we get live views of Dragon, from Dragon as well as from the International Space Station as they pass over ground stations, we will provide those, but they will be intermittent, as you can see here. And there on your right-hand screen is Mission Control in Houston. So on your left-hand screen is Mission Control Hawthorne, where we are working the Crew Dragon, whereas Mission Control Houston is working the International Space Station.
Both control rooms looking over a similar set of flight rules. These are joint flight rules by both teams, both understanding what each spacecraft is doing to prepare for Crew Dragon's arrival.
And they currently are in integrated operations, so they are working together for these final maneuvers for Dragon to approach and dock to the International Space Station.
I am back.
Dragon's still making its way to meet up with the International Space Station. It's a little more than 1.25 miles away, or just more than 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you.
We're tracking
by
a
the
He's
way.
probably got his
burn
hands
coming
cut
up in
round the clock
approximately
trying to get
3
warm.
minutes from
Exactly. It's so freaking cold. When you step away from this heater, you feel it.
Nico, isn't it still about a couple of months before the depths of winter?
Well, I think we're very well into autumn now, so it's probably in the next couple of days winter should really be here. It's usual for the weather to change around about May. Then you really get into cold.
Again, if you're
weather.
just now joining us, we have
when
completed
you
the
come down
approach
to about
initiation
12 in the
burn. We
morning.
are coming up
Yeah.
on a mid-course
Terrible.
burn here
Yeah,
shortly in
pity.
just under 10 minutes. And then following that mid-course burn, we will be making our way to waypoint 0, which is just a checkpoint. If we
Is
need
that
to, we
lows
can
of 12
pause
degrees?
Crew Dragon there until it's ready to make its way to waypoint
depends
1.
on the time of the year. It can
But
go down to -5.
if everything
but
looks
that
good
is
by the
like,
time it gets to waypoint 0,
you
it
know,
can
that's
just
when the people
continue
die
on
of
without
hypothermia
holding
and
at
things, yeah.
waypoint 0.
We're not
just
geared, we
continue
are
on to
not geared
waypoint
for
1.
cold at all. The houses are not built for cold. We don't have double glazing, nothing. So unless you spend a vast amount of money on gas to actually have a proper heater or something, you're gonna get cold.
Dragon SpaceX
Because there's
for
no
our
insulation,
GPS
nothing.
3 caution.
Even our clothes, it's just not made for winter. It's
Nico, when I hear it's gonna be 12 degrees in the hottest part of the day, I'm thinking barbecue time, you know?
We looked into the RGBS
I know,
fault, and
It
we are
just shows you how
comfortable
it differs.
resetting this
See,
filter to try and
are
bring it back
used
to
I would
regain
say,
additional fault
between
tolerance,
25 and 35.
but we are still
Above
go for the
35,
upper maneuver.
it
How
gets
copy?
uncomfortable. But 25 is a nice
Good
average
copy,
temperature.
thanks for the update.
Yeah, a good hot summer day here now is 20 to 25. Don't really get much over
Alright, so the
25.
team's on the ground going to try to recover one of the 6 RGPS
last
units
time you
that
had
provide
-5?
relative navigation. They are
Winter,
redundant
yeah, 2 or 3
systems, but they're
days
going to
like
go
that.
ahead and try to recover it
But it's not
as
long.
we
It
await the
doesn't last
mid-course
long.
burn
You'll get it
scheduled to come
one
up
day
here
it's hot,
very
the next day
shortly.
it's like freezing.
The performance of that burn should set them up
I would
to
say we
determine
get like maybe 3 or 4 such days.
its
in the
alignment
whole
with
of
waypoint 0, which is 400 meters,
You
or about a
actually
quarter mile
scrape
directly below the
frost off
International
your
Space
windows.
Station,
Yeah.
and whether or not it will
In fact,
proceed
we don't
past
scrape
that
it off,
point,
we see it. We
which
just
we've
leave
seen
it.
for the past
Because
couple
an
of
hour
flights
later it's
on
gone.
Dragons. They've proceeded past the waypoint 0 mark and swung up and out in front of the station
I had to
to
brush
the
about
220
4 inches of
meter
snow
mark,
off my
which is
car about 2 weeks
designated
ago to
as
get to work.
waypoint 1.
Yeah, that's completely foreign to me. I have no idea what that's like.
Well, be glad, it's not pleasant.
Sent you a PM, Nico.
Where?
Discord.
Oh, small.
All right, we
block
got confirmation that the
at
mid-course
107
maneuver
can
has
be
started.
taken out. What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, have a look at that block.
Where must I look? I don't understand what you're referring to, Uncle John.
Roots, son.
Right, I gotta leave you guys too. I gotta go to bed. I'll see you later on, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay, Gary. Nice to see you back anyway.
Uncle John, I'm on line 107. Where do you want me to look now?
Well, 107, it just needs alternates and they can be taken out. So
Okay. I'm with you.
All right, we're about a minute into the mid-course maneuver.
Well, Uncle John, when I've thought enough, I'll do it for you, okay?
Okay, but I kept looking at them thinking that he'll take them out at some point.
Dragon SpaceX. On the big loop, mid-course correction maneuver is complete and nominal. Trajectory has converged on waypoint 0.
Denver copies all. Good news.
All right, you just heard that confirmation from the core here in Mission Control Hawthorne. We just executed the 90-second mid-course maneuver, which again is done about halfway from our starting point of approach initiation to waypoint 0. It's a small burn just to fine-tune the approach, ensure we're targeting a precise point 400 meters directly below the station.
Once Dragon arrives at 400 meters below station, it will be at what is known as waypoint 0 and will be the first checkpoint during our approach. The vehicle can hold here at 400 meters, but if all systems check out, then it can just continue on to approach waypoint 1. So we are just waiting for confirmation once we get to waypoint 0.
Dragon SpaceX for our GPS caution.
Go ahead for our GPS.
All right, Megan, we had a successful convergence of the RGPS USOS filter. So we are back to having 6 converged filters. Still go for approach, and we are going to be clearing your onboard alert. How copy?
Denver copies all. That's good news. Thanks.
All right, that confirmation from the ground, the recovery procedures that they put forth to recover one of the 6 RGPS units was successful. Now they have 6 up and running, fully functional RGPS. That'll help with the relative navigation through this next phase of flight with a good mid-course maneuver that sets us up. And the,
I want to catch up with you guys. I'm flying Mach 3 right now.
Confirmed converged onto waypoint 0, which is 400 meters below the International Space Station.
Okay, done, Uncle John.
Bless you, sir. Thank you. 1 hour to land.
All right, we're following along Dragon's trajectory, now completing both the approach initiation burn and a mid-course maneuver to get it in line with that first waypoint, waypoint 0. That's 400 meters directly below the International Space Station. We're looking to get confirmation that the station is passing inside the approach ellipsoid, now just a little more than a kilometer away and approaching fast. We should be get that call shortly. In addition, we're about 15 or so minutes away from arrival to waypoint 0. Should be conducting a go, no-go with both of the control teams that you see on your screen. The left is mission control teams in Hawthorne looking after the SpaceX Crew Dragon vehicle, and Mission Control Houston looking after the International Space Station, both, of course, looking after each other's vehicles and monitoring the approach through a set of joint procedures. So that go, no-go poll will ensure that Dragon is looking good to proceed with converging onto waypoint 0, and that the International Space Station is ready to receive Dragon as it makes its way through these next few milestones. Dragon's now less than a kilometer away from the International Space Station inside the approach ellipsoid.
We got the view from the International Space Station back, looking at Dragon as it's making its approach. And it is orbital nighttime, so the background is dark, but you can see that blinking light on the screen. That is Dragon in the distance.
The International Space Station is over the South Pacific Ocean still. It's on a northeasterly course and will pass over Panama, over Central America very soon, and then over the Caribbean. As it makes its way over the Atlantic Ocean, that's where the terminator line is, so we should start seeing views get a little bit brighter. Sunrise is expected in about 16 minutes from now.
Again, we're just now waiting. We're about under 10 minutes from the go, no-go to see if we can proceed.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Ground is go for approach 0, and we will be enabling the maneuver shortly. Expected maneuver start time is at 0819 UTC.
Copy 0819 for the maneuver.
Good readback. And Dragon will nominally continue approach through waypoint 1 towards waypoint 2 without stopping at waypoint 1.
Endeavour copies.
And we got that confirmation that Dragon will just continue through waypoint 1 and head on over to waypoint 2. No stopping there, so.
That's good, and that means the ground teams both in Mission Control Hawthorne and Houston have pulled go to proceed with that. So Dragon itself will go through waypoint 0, 400 meters below, and when it swings up and out in front of the International Space Station at 220 meters, it will not pause. It's going to go ahead and head right in.
And Station Houston on the Big Loop. Expect to start monitoring Dragon in approximately 25 minutes.
Station copies. Standing by.
The voice you heard from the ground was from Mission Control in Houston. That's Capcom Kathy Bolt talking with Victor Glover aboard the International Space Station. It's his role today to monitor Dragon's approach. It's a busy day for the astronauts aboard, but he's scheduled to head over and start the monitoring procedures using the RPOP, or Rendezvous Proximity Operations Panel. It provides telemetry from the Crew Dragon as it makes its way, so he'll have another view. Of course, there's a lot of support from both of the control centers that you see here on your screen, monitoring as well. Victor Glover, though, will have the benefit of having a view for himself. He'll have a window and be able to look at Dragon's approach through the cupola window. We're about 10 minutes to waypoint 0. Dragon continuing its approach. The mid-course maneuver sets Dragon up to rendezvous with waypoint 0, which is 400 meters directly below the station. Dragon is now inside 600 meters, so 200 meters to go.
If you're just now joining us, and you're seeing on the screen this dark screen with a blinking light, this is a view from the International Space Station looking at Dragon as Dragon is getting closer and closer to the station. We'll be docking with the station in just about an hour, with our Crew 2 astronauts on board. Once we finish docking, there will be a process to ensure that both the station and Crew Dragon are safe, with opening the hatches before the crew can ingress. So crew ingress to the station will happen approximately 2 hours after docking is complete. Again, Dragon is getting very close to the station, but these are some precise maneuvers that it does need to make despite how close it is to the station, we want to make sure that we are checking in on both vehicles each step of the way to ensure the safety of both vehicles throughout this entire process prior to docking, prior to Crew Dragon docking with the space station.
The views of Dragon should get a little bit lighter. And we should be able to see Dragon clearly as it makes its way to, or crosses, rather, waypoint 0. What you're seeing now are the navigation lights on Dragon. The blinking is the navigation light you can see on the forward end of Dragon, exposed by the open nose cone. And you can see the green and red lights there. Green denoting the starboard side and red denoting the port side. So the view you're seeing is an upside down view. Again, Dragon is approaching from underneath the station and will swing up and out in front of it to align with the docking axis at the forward port of the International Space Station.
Now, when we say beneath, we're talking about basically between the Earth and the space station.
Right.
And when it swings up and out in front of the docking port, it will be adjacent to the station.
Dragon SpaceX for Dragon Eye status.
Go ahead, SpaceX.
All right, Megan, for awareness, we may lose Dragon Eye convergence prior to or during approach 0. If we were to lose Dragon Eye convergence prior to approach 0 starting, we would enter into go to 0. And if we lost Dragon Eye convergence during approach 0, we would temporarily transition to approach 0 coast. And then if this happened, it would result in onboard alerts. How copy?
We copy all.
The Dragon Eye system mentioned on board Crew Dragon is an optical navigation system that measures the vehicle's relative position for precision approach and docking. So the data we're seeing of Dragon's distance from the station and its rate of approach, partially coming from those Dragon Eye systems. The Corps mentioned a slew maneuver as Dragon approaches waypoint 0. That's expected here in about 2.5 minutes. It'll help to align and converge with waypoint 0 directly below the International Space Station.
All right. Wow, we've got a very close-up view of the International Space Station from Dragon. And you can see how close we're getting. Again, this is from below the station, meaning between Earth and the station. And now we have some internal views of Crew Dragon.
International Space Station is now 260 statute miles over Panama, close enough to pass over the ground stations over the Cape in Florida, providing some of this these incredible views from Dragon.
And the crew is in their suits and seats, patiently waiting as Crew Dragon approaches the International Space Station, which is what you're looking at on your screen. This is a view from Crew Dragon looking at the station.
You can see this is almost directly below the International Space Station. We're coming up on the R bar, or essentially directly below. That's waypoint 0, coming up in less than a minute and a half.
SpaceX for awareness, the geo filters did just converge on Dragon Eye, so we do not expect them to drop out.
That's great news, SpaceX. Thanks.
Crew continues to monitor Dragon's approach to waypoint 0, coming up in about a minute. The lights from the outside of the International Space Station illuminating the radiators. Those are those long rectangular shapes you're seeing coming down at the bottom of your screen. Almost directly below the International Space Station at waypoint 0, 30 seconds and counting.
And we did hear the Corps mention that they will not stop at waypoint 0, so they will just pass through this checkpoint.
Okay, and we have confirmation. We just passed waypoint 0. The service section Draco thrusters fired to converge with the approach maneuver to meet up with waypoint 1. That'll be directly in front of the International Space Station. So now we're making our way, now not officially behind the station, making our way in front of the station.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. Approach 0 is in progress, and the trajectory has converged on waypoint 1. Expected arrival at waypoint 1 at 0845.
Zero 0845 at waypoint 1. Thanks.
And as expected, as we pass waypoint 1, we're starting to get some of the sun illuminating the station. Hopefully we'll still continue to get some of these views from the cabin and from the exterior of the Dragon, looking up at the International Space Station as we pass into an orbital sunrise over the Atlantic Ocean. Now 261 statute miles over the Caribbean. Again, we passed waypoint 0 and initiated an approach maneuver, approach 0, firing Dragon's service section Dracos to align and converge with waypoint 1 being directly in front of the International Space Station from this view. It's at the top of your view. That's where the International Docking Adapter is. You can sort of make it out now that the sun is illuminating the station itself. So that approach maneuver was successful. and Dragon itself converged onto waypoint 1. We did get a word from the ground teams here that the intent is to proceed past waypoint 1, so once it's directly 220 meters in front of the International Space Station, it will not pause. It will continue to move in. Inside the keep-out sphere, which is about 180 meters away from the station, and it will continue on to waypoint 2 at 20 meters. At 20 meters, it will pause and conduct a go-no-go poll to proceed past the waypoint 2 and in for a soft capture. Soft capture estimated less than 50 minutes from now at 2:10 a.m. Pacific time.
We have the sun shining very bright on the International Space Station right there. As we are entering sunrise, as Gary mentioned. Again, this is a view from Crew Dragon as it's approaching the International Space Station. And it is moving from below the station or between Earth and the station towards being adjacent or in front of the station.
So we'll hopefully continue to get these views for as long as possible. They are absolutely incredible. And then, of course, we have cameras on the International Space Station itself that'll be able to look at Dragon as it approaches the docking axis a little closer. Actually, yeah, we're getting some views even now as the Dragon's underneath and in front of the station. So we're expecting to converge on waypoint 1. Dragon, you're seeing from this view here, will make its way into the docking axis directly in front of the International Space Station. That whole maneuver expected to take about 21 minutes from now. And again, the plan will be to, as of now, will be to proceed past waypoint 1 and pause at waypoint 2 about 20 meters. So as Dragon makes this maneuver, you were seeing mostly the nadir side, or the side of the International Space Station that faces the Earth. Now, as we swing up in front of the station, you're starting to see more features, including some of the solar arrays. Each of those arrays about the size of a basketball court. And those arrays will provide enough power for all of the equipment on board the International Space Station, including communications and navigation and environmental control and life support equipment, as well as hundreds of experiments throughout the orbiting laboratory. Once Dragon docks to the International Space Station, an umbilical will be provided by the space station to provide power from those solar arrays to Dragon throughout its 6-month stay aboard.
Gary, you're mentioning the size of some of the components on the space station, but the space station altogether, what we're looking at here is approximately the size of a football field, right?
That's right. Oh, fantastic views from the International Space Station. You can see very clearly the Terminator line. So that's the line between light and dark now. That's over the North Atlantic Ocean. The International Space Station on a northeasterly course. It will cross over Great Britain when it gets over the Atlantic Ocean, over the pond to Europe. It will first cross over Great Britain.
Again, more awesome views from the International Space Station, looking at Dragon with Earth in the background there. And Dragon is currently swinging up to become adjacent to the space station, and it will be moving to be right in front of the docking port.
That's right, I just passed the marker waypoint 0, that waypoint being directly below the International Space Station, where it executed an approach burn using the service section Dracos. That helped it to converge with that next waypoint right in front of the station. So now we're at a little more than 310 meters away from the station. As it makes its way up front, it will continue to get slightly closer. Waypoint 1 directly in front of the station is about 220 meters, so it'll get incrementally closer as it makes its way in front of the station.
And these views from the space station look incredible. I can only imagine what the astronauts on board the station get to see with their own eyes. That looks amazing.
Blindage particulier ici et en général un peu partout là. Le problème, c'est que évidemment les panneaux solaires sont beaucoup plus fragiles que ça. Donc évidemment il y a des réparations souvent à faire. On a quelques, là on le voit pas sur cette photo parce qu'elle date un peu, mais on a eu des radiateurs qui avaient été frappés par des débris et qui le sont toujours. Ils n'ont pas été encore réparés. Donc c'est pas un gros problème. Ils sont pas détruits évidemment. Ils ont un morceau qui est enlevé, mais du coup il n'y a pas encore eu la réparation. Et oui, il y a souvent des impacts, mais ces blindages, en fait, en gros, c'est que tu as une... Ça, c'est on va dire, c'est la partie extérieure, donc déjà, là, tu as du blindage. Et puis, en fait, l'entrée la vraie paroi de l'intérieur, elle est genre là, et entre les deux, tu as plusieurs couches de blindage. C'est ce qui rend le module extrêmement lourd.
As Dragon makes its way up to align with the docking axis, we may lose some of the views here, but there are cameras on the forward end of the International Space Station. They'll be able to pick up Dragon as it makes its way to align with the docking axis. Those cameras pointed straight ahead to monitor the operations just like this for the approach and docking of visiting vehicles. Teams will continue to evaluate the progress of Dragon's approach, making sure that all systems are go for approach and docking. Right now, we're still tracking a docking time at 2:10 a.m. Pacific time. That'll be 40 minutes from now. And so this will be the last pass over daylight. So for the remainder of our coverage until docking, as long as we proceed through these steps nominally, we should be able to see everything in an orbital daytime.
And just as a reminder, after Dragon docks with the station, it will take a little over an hour and a half to 2 hours for the hatches to open and for crew to ingress onto the space station. And this is another cool view from the, I believe this is the forward side of the International Space Station.
That's right, and those cameras on the truss segment, on the port truss of the International Space Station, what you're seeing, the features there are the Japanese robotic arm and the Japanese logistics model up at sticking up at the top of the Japanese experiment module that houses many of the experiments on board the International Space Station from the Japanese side. There's also an exposed pallet there. There it is at the bottom of your screen with additional experiments. You can sort of see the Dragon out there in the distance the cloud coverage over the North Atlantic Ocean as the Dragon makes its way up to the docking axis. Dragon's about 307 meters away from the station. The plan now is to proceed past waypoint 1. Waypoint 1 being 220 meters directly in front of the International Space Station, right in line with the docking axis. When it starts to move in, it'll pass into the keep out sphere. This is an imaginary line, extends about 180, 185 meters directly in front of the station. And there's new flight rules that come into play when Dragon makes its way inside the keep out sphere. Victor Glover, who's monitoring from the station side, if he sees any anomaly with his data, has the ability to command an abort from the station side. But of course, an abort can be issued from inside Dragon as well, or from the ground. And of course, Dragon, once it reaches the docking axis, has about 20 hours of power, so it can hold there for quite some time and can reattempt to dock as necessary. But so far, things are looking pretty good for today, as we're tracking for a docking at 2:10 a.m. Pacific time.
And again, a really cool view from the International Space Station, looking at Dragon as it gets closer and closer. It's currently swinging up to be in front of the docking axis, which will mean that Dragon will be...
Dragon SpaceX for approach 1 status.
SpaceX.
All right, Shane, we are currently tracking the sun's relative position and how that is impacting our ability to monitor the retroreflectors with the Dragon eyes. We are going to make an assessment at approximately 110 meters to see if the sun's position will impact the Dragon eye convergence. If we deem that it might impact Dragon eye convergence, ground is going to command a hold. However, if at 110 meters, it is early enough where this will not be an issue, it will not impact approach 1, and Dragon will continue to waypoint 2.
Wake up at all, thanks.
Okay, so what you just heard from there, first of all, down on the Earth, these beautiful shots. The International Space Station is just passing over Ireland. The body you see there is the United Kingdom. We're passing over Europe, and we're about to pass over the Netherlands and Germany as well. The calls you heard as we pass over these parts of Europe, the sun itself will come up and behind the International Space Station.
On the big loop, monitor approach per step 1 of 1.104, Crew Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Station copies and work.
All right, and that was Kathy Bolt, Capcom and Mission Control Houston. Victor Glover aboard the International Space Station, confirming he's standing by, monitoring Dragon's approach. So he'll be looking at the same telemetry that the ground teams are, and the crew aboard Dragon as well. Now, the call you heard from the core was once Dragon makes its way past waypoint 1, 220 meters in front of the station.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Expect reconfiguration of the C2V2 return link shortly.
Never copy.
All right, so once Dragon makes its way inside waypoint 1, the 220-meter mark, crosses into the keep-out sphere, the ground teams will do an assessment at about 110 meters. See the position of the sun. The sun might be a little bit too far behind the space station at the time and interfere with some of the optical cameras, the optical equipment, navigation equipment, the Dragon eyes. So they'll do an assessment and may issue a hold if necessary, depending on the position of the sun and how they're interfering or how they affect the Dragon eyes. Also, they're going to check the C2V2 common communication for visiting vehicles. There's a link between the two spacecraft now. There's a C2V2 on Dragon and also on the International Space Station that provides telemetry. A lot of that telemetry is what Victor Glover aboard the station is monitoring using his rendezvous proximity operations panel. So all this coming up very soon. Dragon inside 300 meters, 284 and closing. Again, 220 meters is the point where we meet up with waypoint 1 directly in front of the International Space Station. That's expected to come up in a little less than 7 minutes. Still getting great views. Those cameras trained, of course, on the star of today's show, the Crew Dragon, but we're still getting some glimpses of the Earth right underneath the station, 265 statute miles directly over Frankfurt, Germany, passing over Eastern Europe, and eventually will cross over the Black Sea. .270 meters and closing. Crew Dragon expected to converge with waypoint 1 directly in front of the International Space Station in less than 5 minutes. You can see the views right over the shoulders of Commander Shane Kimbrough and pilot Megan MacArthur. Kimbrough on the left, MacArthur on the right from that view.
From this view from the International Space Station, you can see what we were mentioning earlier, where Dragon was below the station. You could see that previously when it had Earth in the background. Now it is almost adjacent, or almost in the same orbit as the International Space Station, as it's making its way to the docking axis at waypoint 1. This maneuver from below the station to in front of the docking port is almost complete, just a few minutes away.
Getting great views from all around, from the station side, from the Dragon side. The outline of the station you see on the displays inside Crew Dragon is in line with the position of where Dragon is relative to the International Space Station. It's almost at the docking axis, about 2.5 minutes to go until it converges with Waypoint 1.
And as a reminder, Dragon is flying autonomously, so they aren't using those display panels to fly Dragon. They're just using them to monitor each step of the way. So the crew is basically just patiently waiting until they dock with the station.
Now seeing Dragon in a better view, a lot more clear now that it's only 240 meters away. You can see the nose cone clearly deployed, extended towards the space-facing side or zenith side.
A really good zoomed-in view, and you could almost make out those 4 bulkhead thrusters on the forward portion of the Dragon capsule.
There you go. The Cronus is adjusting the aperture of the station cameras.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Approach 1 and soft capture ring extension will begin shortly. Dragon will continue to a waypoint 2 with the additional lighting assessment occurring at 110 meters as previously noted. For awareness, if sunlight results in the loss of the Dragon Eye geofilters, Dragon will autonomously retreat back to waypoint 1, remaining on closed loop control using the time of flight filters. How copy?
We are in a handover period, so we may have missed a call as we were switching from TDRS satellites. We're looking at about 20 seconds to go until we converge with Waypoint 1. There's going to be an approach burn maneuver using the Draco thrusters. That's called Approach 1, and that'll move Dragon from right in front of the docking axis, 220 meters away, and start moving in, closing in to Waypoint 2, just 20 meters away from the docking axis. Of course, they'll be monitoring along the way.
We did hear the Corps mention that they are going to have a checkpoint to make sure that there isn't too much sunlight on the space station, which will prevent Dragon from docking. If that does happen, Dragon will autonomously back out and wait until the sunlight has cleared to ensure a good docking with the space station. Because this is all autonomous, it uses some visual cameras to align with the docking port. So it's really important that we don't have that sunlight getting in the way.
Section's over on the big loop. Sound check.
SpaceX has you loud and clear on the big loop. How me?
Very loud and clear. Your last call, we copied most of it, but you cut out towards the end there. I'm not sure if there's anything important for us.
Copy. I'm going to repeat the end of the call. We did have a TDRS handover. Just for awareness, following the lighting assessment, if we continue but sunlight results in a loss of the Dragon Eye geofilters, Dragon Eye will autonomously retreat back to waypoint 1, still on closed loop control using the time of flight filters. How copy?
Okay, we copied all. Thank you very much for repeating.
No problem, Shane. And for awareness, the C2V2 link reconfiguration has been completed.
Copy, C2V2 complete.
And there, the Corps just reiterated that they will be checking to make sure that the sunlight is not in the way of the visual systems between Dragon and the space station. If that does happen, Dragon will autonomously retract and wait until we do get some good visual views for these systems to dock with each other. So
that's right. Crew Dragon resilience actually coming into view a little bit clearer now from the cameras aboard Dragon. Dock to the Zenith port.
Yeah, that was on the upper portion of the screen.
That's right. Now again, to reiterate, Dragon has passed waypoint 1, 220 meters in front of the station, executed a burn maneuver to go ahead and move in, so we're in approach 1. And it's heading towards waypoint 2. Now inside the keep-out sphere. It's currently in the process of extending its soft capture ring that'll be used to dock to the international docking adapter of the forward port. We're monitoring the visual systems of Dragon. It would execute an automatic retreat if the sun was interfering with the optical systems as it makes its way towards an approach. We're at about 150 meters away from the station.
And we have such a great camera view here. You can really see the detail on Dragon. Again, those 4 bulkhead thrusters. You could almost read the logo, the Dragon logo on the side of the vehicle.
That's right. We'll get even better views as it makes its way even closer to make contact and capture with the space station.
There it is.
Yeah, based on the trajectory here, we may even anticipate a capture a little bit earlier than anticipating. We were looking at about 2:10 a.m. Pacific time. It might be at maybe closer to 2:07 p.m. The features of the space station coming into view very clearly.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the detail there. And as you mentioned, the Crew 1 Dragon.
Houston Space Station on the Big Loop. Procedure review complete, ready for docking.
Houston copies.
All right, that was confirmation from Victor Glover aboard the International Space Station. From the space station side, he is go for docking. The soft capture ring itself is fully extended. We're 115 meters in closing.
And looking at your screen, the port that we are going to be docking with is directly in the middle of the screen, that circular area on the International Space Station.
Station Houston on 2 for Ike regarding SSC 17 and D2DM. We are seeing some strange configurations on the video, and we would like to close and restart that. We can take care of that from the ground if you would like. Absolutely. If you're seeing nominal, that works for us.
Okay, so Victor Glover aboard the station still has...
And Dragon, SpaceX soft capture ring extension is complete. Additionally, we did beat the sunlight for the Dragon Eye filters, so we are not going to command a hold.
Never copies off.
All right, so that's great news. We passed the 110-meter checkpoint that the ground operators were referencing, making sure the sun wasn't interfering with the optical sensors, the Dragon Eye, that are part of the guidance and navigation and control system aboard Dragon. We passed that check mark. We're good to go. We beat the sun there. So we're now inside 80 meters and closing. Dragon will pause at 20 meters. That's designated as waypoint 2 to conduct a go, no-go poll for the readiness on both the Dragon side and the International Space Station side, making sure everyone is good for docking. If we are go, we expect to dock during this pass over in orbital daytime. Expected in less than 20 minutes. Some of the features there, you can see a lot of the visiting vehicles on board station. At the bottom is a Russian Soyuz vehicle that delivered crew to the International Space Station. Just in front of that, or actually above that, is the Crew Dragon Resilience docked to the Zenith port. Once Crew Dragon Endeavour arrives, there will be 2 Crew Dragons attached to the space station.
In this view from Crew Dragon looking at the International Space Station, it looks like it's this very slow and steady movement, but in reality they're moving at 17,500 miles per hour.
The rendezvous operations are absolutely incredible. You can sort of see the Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo craft as well, some of the ultraflex solar arrays coming into view a little bit clearly.
Again, you could see that Crew 1 Dragon vehicle on the top of your screen. Once Crew 2 docks to the International Space Station, we will have 2 Crew Dragons docked at the same time for the first time.
That view right there was truly a representation truly of an international cooperation there. The U.S.-built Node 2 is where the Dragon will be docking today. It was flanked by the European Columbus module and the Japanese GEM.
On the big loop, visors down.
SpaceX copies. Visors are down. We may enter into a hold at waypoint 2. We are still awaiting ground go for final approach.
Never copies.
The detail of this camera view is pretty incredible. Here from the International Space Station, watching Crew Dragon as it is slowly approaching.
And as expected, Dragon holding at waypoint 2. It's at about 20 meters right in front of the docking axis.
And if you're just now joining us, we are just waiting for a confirmation for go for docking. Currently holding Dragon at waypoint 2. And again, it looks like Dragon is just paused and not even moving, but again, as we just mentioned, both the space station and Crew Dragon are actually moving at approximately 17,500 miles per hour. So it's pretty incredible how it can hold these speeds so that it looks like they are just completely paused.
That's right. Teams on the ground, both from the station side in Mission Control Houston and Mission Control Hawthorne, just checking and verifying all systems are go to proceed with docking.
And when we do begin docking, there will be two portions of this. There will be a soft capture followed by a hard capture. The soft capture will be a soft capture ring that basically just connects the Crew Dragon to the space station to enable the hard capture, which will be 12 hooks that will attach Dragon to the station.
Again, we're standing by the International Space Station, flying over the Indian Ocean now, just south of the Indian border. It's heading on a southeasterly course just south of Australia and should cross over the Terminator line into the Pacific Ocean into an orbital nighttime. The expectation is for Dragon to depart here from waypoint 2 and proceed on with docking ahead of orbital nighttime to beat the sun.
You can see this camera moving around. Again, this is controlled from the ground from Mission Control Houston. And they're maneuvering this camera around so we can just get a more detailed view of the Crew 2 Dragon Endeavour patiently waiting, docking to the International Space Station.
Dragon on its second flight, about to dock to the forward end of the International Space Station for the second time.
And Station and Endeavour on the big loop. Ike, we are not able to recover that video for the D2DM, so you can close that window, and we should be ready to press into final approach shortly.
Station copies.
You did hear that call out speak out to Ike. Ike is actually referring to Victor Glover. That is just his nickname.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Ground is now go for final approach. Upon confirmation of crew readiness for final approach, we will enable. The the approach. Please confirm crew readiness, and a reminder, once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are no longer permitted.
Crew is ready for final approach.
And got some good words that the crew is ready for the docking to the International Space Station. They no longer will have control of any aborts. If there is an abort needed, it will have to be done by the Dragon autonomously.
And on the big loop, monitor per steps 3 and 4 and 1.104.
Copy.
Again, we are now moving into the CHOP, which is the crew hands-off point. As I was mentioning earlier, if there is an abort, it will need to be done autonomously by Dragon.
All right, we did get confirmation. Approach 2 has been initiated. So Dragon now making its way inside the 20-meter hold point at about 18 meters and closing. Final approach of Endeavour to dock with the International Space Station has started. Docking expected in about 3.5 minutes from now.
And you could see on your screen as Crew Dragon slowly approaches towards that port for docking.
That's right, we're 13 meters and closing, making a slow and methodical approach to the docking port. That's on the forward end of the International Space Station, that international docking adapter where Crew Dragon Endeavour has docked once before.
Meters.
Copy, 10 meters.
What that call out was Crew Dragon is just 10 meters away from the International Space Station as it continues its approach for docking. Again, docking will occur in 2 phases. There will be a soft capture followed by a hard capture, and what that hard capture means is 12 physical hooks will connect the Dragon to the space station.
Great views. Dragon just 6 meters away as the station and Dragon fly in tandem 263 statute miles over the South Indian Ocean in the background.
5 meters.
We're 5 meters and closing.
Copy, 5 meters.
Really start to see the detail on Dragon there as it is closing in on docking.
That's right, 2.5 meters, 30 seconds. crew hands-off point was called out.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, soft capture confirmed.
Copy, soft capture confirmed.
Great news with that call out. That soft capture is confirmed.
That's right, that soft capture time, 2:08 a.m. Pacific time, 4:08 a.m. Eastern. The station and Dragon connected 264 statute miles over the South Indian Ocean. Endeavour connected to International Space Station for the second time.
And there are still a few steps to complete before Dragon is securely attached.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, soft capture ring retraction in progress. On the big loop, ring retraction is complete. Docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration.
Endeavour copies all.
If you're just now joining us, as you can see on your screen, Crew Dragon has made contact with the International Space Station. And we're currently in progress of...
Endeavour and Station, MCS is configured, proceeding with hook driving.
Endeavour copies. Station copies.
Great timing there. This is now the beginning of the hard capture sequence. This is where 12 hooks will latch between Dragon and the space station, 6 hooks at a time. This will take a few minutes to complete.
That's right, that MCS is just configuring the International Space Station's attitude control. It needed to be configured differently between a soft capture and hard capture sequence. So now that that's been confirmed, they can go ahead and press to drive the 12 hooks needed to confirm a hard capture. To reiterate, the Dragon had contact and capture with the space station at 2:08 a.m. Pacific time, 5:08 a.m. Eastern. Space Station and Dragon crossing over the Terminator line, just south of Australia, about to head over the South Pacific Ocean. Start seeing the views of Dragon get a little bit dimmer as we still undergo the hard capture sequence. All right, again, we're still undergoing the hard capture sequence. There's 12 hooks that drive to officially mate Dragon to the International Space Station, 6 of them driving currently. Station attitude configured to support the hard capture sequence, now operating on control moment gyros to maintain attitude control during the hard capture sequence. All right, and we have confirmation the first set of hooks, all 6 have been driven. They look good. The second set are driving and are looking good at the anticipated speed. Halfway there.
This will take just a couple more minutes for hard capture to complete. As a reminder, after hard capture is complete, they do still have some more steps that they need to go through in order to ensure that the space station and Dragon are safe for crew ingress. There will be the hatch opening as the crew on board Dragon as well as the station will be walking through some procedures prior to ingress of the crew on the International Space Station. But once they do ingress on the station, there will be a welcome ceremony.
Again, half of the hard capture hooks have been driven and locked into place. The second set of 6 hooks, 12 total.